Hey, hello, lovely to see you. If you're watching this live, it would really be helpful if you could put hashtag live or even just wave your hand and say hello. Or if you're watching it later, if you can put, I can't remember what you put, hashtag live or you put hashtag replay, that's what you put. So if you can put hashtag hashtag replay. There's some science in it. We get to kind of look and see how many of you are watching live and how many watch later, whether our lives should be later and all that sort of thing. So it does really help us. So it would be great if you could do that. So do you struggle to come up with ideas for your sessions? Do you sit down to write a session and then you've got lots of ideas, but you're not sure if the ideas are have the right objectives to them? Do you know how to look at the objectives and make sure that your sessions are fulfilling those CST objectives? Because of course, what can happen as we get very confident in writing sessions is we start to move away from the CST principles, which we really mustn't do, because obviously it's evidence-based. So we need to be making sure that what we're delivering is standardized and to that to the original evidence. So today I'm going to take you through some ideas that will help you deliver some really great sessions, and I hope that you will take from it what you want. I'm Laura Walker. I'm a bit of a creative thinker. This is the sort of thing that I love doing. Like, sit me in front of writing sessions all day and I'm one happy woman. I am very passionate about CST, of course. It's what really Memory Matters was built on, and obviously I'm a co-founder of Memory Matters with my sister-in-law Kate Smith, both nurses, both like health professionals often are. Just let's crack on and get this stuff done. There's so much, isn't there, research around things that are good for people, and then you get on the ground and this stuff isn't being done. So that's where our drive comes from, really, is how can we get this really good stuff out there so people living with dementia can access it. So we're constantly looking for opportunities for people living with dementia to thrive. That's what really floats our boat. So I'm a nurse by trade, as I said, and this is my bread and butter. And really what we've done in the last sort of 11 years is developed from service providers to supporting people like you to provide a service and to provide a really good gold standard service as well. So I'm going to have a look at just a couple of sessions with you today, because we don't have a huge amount of time, and probably nor do you. So these little bite-sized lives are a great way to just kind of dip your toe in, and maybe for you it's just about seeing that you're doing it right, or maybe for you it's about getting some ideas. But you know, one of the sessions that I really wanted to look at today was the famous faces session. Now, if I was cleverer than I am, I would be able to share my screen, but I'm going to blame Facebook because I've got this weird little dancing daisy going on. And so therefore I can't seem to access the button which allows me to share my screen. So you're just going to have to imagine my screen. I'll describe it to you. So I've got a slide with some pictures of some famous faces. And I've got Tony Blair, and I've got, I don't know his name. Isn't that funny? Because that's what I'm going to be talking about. So he's in country and western movies. He's a really famous actor. I literally don't remember his name, so do feel free to interject and tell me. It would be great if I could see your comments, which I can't. I'll get my phone up so I can find you, because someone out there will help me. But actually, do you know what I love is it doesn't really matter, because that, unbeknown to me, is exactly what I'm getting to, which is We use famous faces because they're recognizable. So somewhere in the subconscious brain will be this face that we're seeing will elicit a feeling. Okay, so I might look at Tony Blair and I might think something that isn't logical, and I might have an opinion. So it might be, oh, I don't like the look of him, or oh, isn't he lovely, or whatever it is. So that's the difference as to why we don't use just faces out of magazines, because it's fun when we find that these opinions come forward for people. So I've got Tony Blair and this very famous actor whose name I can't remember, and I can't see the comments, so even if you could help me, I can't see. It'll come to me in a minute. Now, it doesn't matter, because the whole point of the session is that it doesn't matter who it is. We don't necessarily name the people. We put their faces next to each other, so we have two pictures, and we compare and we contrast. So, for example, the famous actor has words around him. So in this particular session, we used, you know, those bright coloured stars that you have in your corner shop that says sold, or you can write anything on them. So we've got those, and we write the words that people use to describe the face. And so for him, we've got determined, we've got charming, macho, rugged, we've got trustworthy. Now you see what I mean about these words coming up from somewhere in the brain where we have these opinions. Handsome is another word. That's great. So we start to put all these words around that person, and then of course we've got Tony Blair. So I say, which of those words would you use to describe this gentleman? Now, it might be none of them, it might be some of them. Somebody might find him very attractive and very trustworthy. You never know, do you? And that's what's wonderful about it, is there is no right or wrong. This is merely about opinions, which is actually throughout the whole of everything we teach about CST. It's opinions rather than facts. That's why it doesn't matter what his name is. It doesn't matter that I can't remember his name, because that is not the point. Now, of course, the name of the people may come to them, and sometimes people will say, I know this man. What's his name? Please tell me. And in which case, of course, we would. We're not going to put people through their paces and say, oh no, because it doesn't matter. If it matters to them, then we tell them. So any famous faces will do, but you will find that some famous faces will elicit more feelings than others. Margaret Thatcher is a great one. The Queen is another one. And obviously that really depends, doesn't it, on what culture you're in or what country you're in, or, you know, whatever. I know that in England we very much love to talk about the royal family, but not necessarily if you're in America. Why would you? So just make sure that those faces are recognisable faces. Like, there's a good chance that the person will recognise them, but that is not the point of the exercise. So if I just, for a minute, I'm just going to look at my other screen a moment, because I want to bring up the objectives for the famous faces session. So the objectives are to promote discussion, thoughts and opinions, and to stimulate memory and recall, all done implicitly, of course. So it shouldn't feel like we're teaching. It definitely shouldn't be a question of, who's this? Do you recognise them? Do you remember what film they were in? Those are not questions that we ask in CST at all, because they're not opinion-based questions. So in our one-day CST training, we do a brilliant exercise where we use Margaret Thatcher, and we use, I'm going to forget her name as well, famous actress. It's going to help. Marilyn Monroe. Let's be having her. So Marilyn Monroe and Margaret Thatcher, and we put the two faces together, and I ask people to come up with questions which are totally asking about opinion and not about fact. So a fact question might be, what did they do for a living? Because it's a fact. I mean, you could potentially ask, what do you think they might do for a living? But even then, I'm not comfortable with it. I would rather we were asking things like, would you go out for dinner with them? If you did go out for dinner with this lady, what do you think she would eat? How long do you think it takes to do her hair like that? You know, these are questions that we can make up on the spot. They are totally open for me and for you and for anyone to join in that conversation. I don't need to rely on my memory to answer those questions. And I think that's the one thing that I'll keep coming back to with CST is opinions, opinions, opinions. Forget the facts, because we don't want to be putting people on the spot recalling something when they're unable to because of their memory challenges. I love the Famous Faces session because you can you can do it with one group of people and you can do exactly the same faces with another group of people and you'll have a totally different session. You can also go back to the same group with different faces. So there's always ways that we can change it up and it's always fresh and new. Famous Faces are just in terms of resources. There are packs of Famous Faces that you can buy, but also if you're working in the health service and you have very limited resources, or actually any voluntary sector, or probably any sole trader either, money is a problem. So you know, you can always use an iPad or your smartphone or whatever it is that you've got and go on the internet, and obviously there are pictures of famous people all over the damn internet. So there we go. That's where you would get your resources from. So that's Famous Faces, and then I did want to just talk to you as well about another favourite of mine, which is word association. What's great about word association is, and you may not know this, is that particularly Alzheimer's affects the left-hand side of the brain much more than it affects the right-hand side of the brain, particularly in the early stages. Now, obviously, it devastates the whole of the brain once we get to the end of Alzheimer's, but at the beginning, it will affect language, of course, which is on the left. But on the right, we have song, we have the words to song, we have rhythm. And the other thing that we have over there is sort of rhyming couplets, phrases, prayer, you name it. And the great thing is with word association is we're working on that right-hand side of the brain. So giving people the beginning of a sentence, like a cup of, you fill in the blank. I can't think of any more. Salt and you fill in the blank. And so it goes on. We can just be successful with it because actually there's no cognitive thinking necessarily that needs to go on in the language part of the brain. It just comes to us. You know, it's like if I give you the phrase of something that you learnt when you were when you were a child, it will come through without you even thinking about it. So a cup of, a loaf of, I'm reading them now, you see, fish and we did salt and pepper. And the other phrases, of course, are, you know, a bird in the hand. And what we can do with those phrases is we can give more or less depending on how quickly people come in with the ending. So I might say a bird in the hand, nobody's answering, is worth. A bird in the hand is worth. Still no one answering. A bird in the hand is worth 2. And then hopefully, you know, you get somebody finishing the phrase. A stitch in time. A stitch in time saves. So yeah, what's great about this actually is this feeling of completion. Now, I know that you will feel it just as much as I do, that when we can get the answer to something, then we just feel good about ourselves and it boosts our self-esteem and we just feel happy. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in CST, is just have a bunch of happy people. There is, if you could see my screen, which you can't, so I'll describe it to you. I've got three of our beneficiaries around a table, a lovely bright yellow tablecloth, with lots of different words, onomatopoeic words like mumble, clang, swish, warble, giggle, splash, ding, cheap, whip. And actually what we do in this session is we will ask for suggestions for words that are sounds. We can also, it's a bit of a cheat, but actually write onomatopoeia, because that's always funny to get a facilitator to spell it, and write that on the board, and then see how many words you can make out of onomatopoeia as well. But just using the basic ball game, where we have a lovely nice ball and we throw it around, and we can ask people what words that are sounds that they can think of. And there's lots of fun in that, because they can make the noises as well. So you can have ting, crash, bang. So yeah, lots of fun. Word association, one of my favourites, along with famous faces, although they're all my favourites, to be honest. Now, as we're coming to the end, I need to tell you about something very exciting. On the